Hello, Tungsten Miner here. Last time I was getting everything ready to build a PneumaticCraft elevator, so now that I've got all my parts, I'm going to head back over to the other building and start getting everything installed. Okay, here I am in the bottom of my elevator shaft, and I have set up the elevator bases so that the top of the elevator bases lines up with the lowest floor, and then all the rest of them go down from there. So I've got my 16 elevator bases. And then my elevator frame I've got set up so that it goes from the bottom of the elevator, or the top of the elevator bases, all the way up to the just below the bottom or the top of the elevator shaft. Right, so elevator bases lines up with the bottom floor, elevator frame lines up with the top floor. Now I need to figure out how to get some pressure to these guys. So if I land here and look up, let's see here. There we go. You can see I've got my elevator base, and my thinking is that this all connects as one big device. And I've got zero pressure in the system right now, which means that when I try to do anything, I need at least 3 bars of pressure to be able to move. And this machine, being that it's a PneumaticCraft machine, says yellow means too little pressure, green means a good amount of pressure, and red means too much pressure, this thing's about to blow up. So I need to make sure I get somewhere between 3 and 5 bars of pressure to this machine. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of thinking about how I want that to work. Because I've got with me my flux compressor. The problem being that the flux compressor generates up to 20 bars of pressure, which means it'll destroy my elevator if I just use it as it is. So I need to work out a way to generate the correct amount of pressure, which is not too much pressure. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to stick it over in this room here and set something up with a pressure gauge. I'm going to go do that, and then I'll walk you through how it works. Okay, so I've got things set up, I think. For temporary measure, I'm just using an energy cell to power the compressor. The compressor is set up to generate whenever there's a low redstone signal. And this is important because that's the control mechanism I'm using. So this is 10 meters worth of redstone leading to this pressure gauge tube module. And as you can see, it's creeping its way up, and eventually it's going to get around to this dangerous zone where even the pressure tube module will blow itself up because there's too much pressure. But for every bar of pressure, it creates a redstone signal that is 2 meters long. So at half a bar, it's 1 meter, at 1 meter, at 1 bar, it's 2 meters, and so on, which means at 5 bars, it's going to be able to push a redstone signal down a 10-meter length of redstone dust, which is, of course, exactly how long this is, because this thing can take 5 meters or 5 bars worth of pressure, and the elevator can take 5 bars worth of pressure. So if I've got everything counted correctly, and I really, really hope I do, then as soon as this pressure gets to 5 bars, it's going to turn this into a high redstone signal. And this guy is going to then get the high redstone signal and turn itself off. Now, probably a wise thing to do would actually be to move this a little bit closer. So what doesn't wind up happening, yeah, so you hear that hissing? That's because I broke the pipe and a little bit of the air started leaking out. So I'm going to put that guy there. So now when it gets to 4.5, it should stop the compressor. And that just gives me a little bit of wiggle room before I get into the red territory and have dangerous consequences. So let's get this stuff out of the way, take a look over here. Another thing to know about PneumaticCraft is while the pressure in the system is 2.8 bars, that's in combination with how much air is actually in the system. So the system right now has a volume of 10,000 milliliters. And that includes the compressor, it includes all the pipes, it includes all the elevator blocks, and all the stuff in between. There's that many milliliters worth of space inside the tube system. And of course, as I add more tubes or as I add more devices, the amount of space inside the tube system grows. The current volume of air then influences the current pressure because I've got this much volume, and if I pack it full with 1 bar of pressure, then the amount of air is going to be, I think, equal to the amount of volume. And as I press things in further and further, I get more and more volume of air in there. And I think this is also on an exponential scale, so I need to, get higher and higher. I haven't actually learned how the math works here. I'm kind of guessing as to what is going on here, but it's clearly not a one-to-one linear sort of scale. At some point, I'll look it up and figure out what the math is, but it's not that important to know in order to know how to use all the devices. The thing you really care about is pressure and making sure it doesn't get too high and damage your devices. The other thing to know about the flux compressor is that it does generate heat, and as it gets hotter, it gets less and less efficient. So it burns through more energy to create more pressure. Right now, the temperature is 51 degrees C, and it's right at this bottommost arrow, which is where it starts to degrade in its performance. So if it gets above this arrow, it begins to get less and less efficient. If it gets to this top arrow, it's not going to generate any more pressure no matter how much energy you pour into it. So here it is, pressuring up, and as I go back over here and look at my elevator, I can see I'm now in the green zone. I'm above 3 bars. So the elevator ought to work. And what I should be able to do, oh yeah, if I have this arranged correctly, let's see here. I'm still figuring this out myself. Let's say I want to go to the 2nd floor, so I should be able to click on button 2. Hey, here I am on the 2nd floor. And now, if I want to go to the 3rd floor, yeah, so I need to have my elevator collars arranged so that I can see the floor buttons on the inside. And I think what I'm going to have to do is make it so that I have a button on the outside that allows me to call the elevator to that floor. So let's go up to the 3rd floor. Here we are on the 3rd floor. And if I click on the elevator here, oh yeah, so I'm way up now. Let's take a look at what's going on. Yeah, so here are my elevator bases, and as I extend the elevator, these pneumatic tubes push the elevator floor higher and higher up, following the elevator frame. So if I look here at the base, I've still got lots of air pressure. So once you've got the system up to pressure, it doesn't use up very much pressure as you're going up and down in the elevator. It uses up some, but not a tremendous amount. So yeah, let me turn this call box around here. There we go. Now I need 4 buttons. So let me grab some just plain stone. That's plain stone, and I think I can turn any kind of smooth stone from underground biomes into plain stone, or use them as buttons anyway. Yeah, there we go. So we've got buttons, 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 and I'm going to plant a button right there. Whoa, what did I just do? Huh. Oh, that's right. If you right-click one of these things, you can disguise it as whatever you like. And then, yeah, if you shift right-click, you'll disguise the elevator caller. And then if you just right-click with a button, you can put a button on there to call the elevator to your floor. So now we'll go up to the 4th floor. The other thing that happens, and I'll probably change some of these doors, is when you arrive at a floor that has an elevator caller on it, the elevator caller itself emits a redstone signal, which naturally opens my lovely door here. So what I'm probably going to wind up doing is making something that's more like a real elevator door that say slides open and is an iron door, has that kind of iron door behavior, so that you actually can't open the door without the elevator being at your floor. Yeah, so I turn the thing around, and there we go. So now I'm going to want to disguise that guy, but now he looks kind of weird sticking out there. So what I think I'll do is just put that down there and put a button up there. And now let's test it out. I'll go back down, all the way down to here. Whoops, and go around to here and say I want to call the elevator back to here. So any redstone signal provided to an elevator caller is going to call the elevator back down to that level. Here we go. And now if I want to go back down to the basement level, there we are. All right, so let's make sure that my PneumaticCraft stuff here isn't going to blow itself up. All right, I've got my gauge. It's at 4 and a little, not quite 4.5 it looks like. I've got a redstone signal going all the way except to the last one, so this should still be on. And sure enough, it's producing more air. It's getting close to 5 bars. It's looking like it's definitely over 4. Well, maybe not quite yet. Let's take a look. Maybe not 4.5. Let's see. All right, very shortly this should come on, and hopefully that means the flux generator will go off. The flux compressor will go off. Because I definitely don't want to blow up these very expensive... Okay, so there it is. Redstone signal came on, and what I hopefully will see... no such luck. This is still going. Enable on low signal. Well, that's why I gave myself some extra... Oh, no, that's still going. Why is it still going? Low signal, 4.7. This is very not good. I have only a few moments to decide what to do here. Do I have more pipes? I do have more pipes. So what I'm going to do is this. Create a loop in the pipe and disconnect that. Okay, so this is kind of cheating, but I need to work out why this isn't behaving the way I thought it would. And so what I've done in the interim is created a closed loop in my pressure system so that I don't lose the pressure that's in there. So we can see the pressure is still at like 4.5-ish. And I need to work out what happened here. My guess is that since redstone signals generally want to run directly into a machine, and this machine is off to the side, it's not detecting the redstone signal off to the side. So I'm going to move it over here. And I'm going to say redstone behavior, oops, on a low signal. It's got no power, so let's do that. And what I should see is it gaining power, which it is. I should likewise see that it is not gaining any pressure. Good. So it's observing that this is a high redstone signal and it's not making any additional effort to compress things. So now I've connected it back into the pressure system, and I can see now it's gaining pressure. So PneumaticCraft works by having kind of interlocking units that are all pressurized and have a certain volume of air. Well, when I disconnected this guy, the volume in the system over there became a little bit less because it doesn't include that extra chunk of pipe and the compressor itself. But the pressure remained the same. So the volume of air that was in the system remained relatively the same because it lost volume of tubing and it lost the air at the same time. And so there's still a lot of air left in the system there. When I reconnected this, I have now empty pipes with no air and a compressor with no air. So a lot of the air that was in that part of the system started piling back in until the pressure in all of the devices attached to the system equalized. And that's what's happened now. what I should be seeing is that this guy gets up to 4.5. Yep, because that's now off. So this thing should be turned on because it used up some of the pressure in the system equalizing, and sure enough, it's turned itself back on. So what I'm expecting to see is eventually once the pressure gets up to 4.5, this redstone dust will become active, and that will mean this thing detects a high redstone signal instead of a low redstone signal immediately next to itself and turns itself off because it only wants to run with a low signal. And I've kind of used up all the juice in this battery here, so I think what I'm going to do is take this back upstairs with me and recharge it at the windmill. And of course eventually I'll need to do something a little more permanent once I've got some real power system installed here. You know, actually I'm going to put that back in just in case I have another emergency where I need to disconnect things. So every time I do that, where there's that hissing sound, I'm losing air from the system, which means the pressure is going down. I closed it off pretty quickly, so I didn't lose very much, and it's only one little teeny tiny pipe. So again, I didn't lose very much. But if you left something like that open, you'd eventually drain the system of air, and it would get back down to 0 bar in the system. So I think I have a functional elevator. I'm going to work on getting some of those nice doors that open and close and camouflaging the rest of these things and a few other odds and ends to try and make things work a little bit more like a real elevator. But I am quite pleased with how this has come across so far. Yeah. Oh, nice. So even when I camouflage them, I can still see the buttons on the insides here. So let's see. I want to go to floor 2. Oh, I think there's a way to rename these things. Yeah, there is. So let's go back down here. And then when I click on the base, I can bring up floor names. Yeah, so floor 1 is going to be basement. 2 is ground. This is going to be first. Well, let's call this upstairs. Because really there's only 2 floors, and then roof. And now what I should see is all of the labels have been updated. So if I want to go to the roof, I can click that. If I want to go to upstairs, I can right-click that and go upstairs. But actually, I wanted to disguise that other guy and put a button on him. Let's see. Yeah, so we've got a button here already. Back to the ground floor. This is so neat. This is one of the things I love about this game is getting to play around with all these fascinating, inventive things here. There we go. All right, and they fit right in so nicely. This is brilliant. You notice, though, of course, that I made my elevator 2x2, and I've got a 3x3 hole in the ground, which allows me to drop down there. Not exactly what I want. So I need to decide now whether I want to spend the resources to expand this to be a 3x3 elevator, or whether I want to make the tower a little bit narrower so that I've got just the right shaped elevator, or if I want to, like, I don't know, fill in the sides with something else, or I don't know, make some other choices. But yeah, I'm going to go off and get some doors together and fill in some of the details here, and I will be back in a bit. As I was setting up the doors, I figured, you can see the laboratory door over there. So a laboratory door is one of the doors added by Malisis Door mods. Recipe is pretty straightforward, just a little bit of iron and gold and a door-shaped thing. And by default, a laboratory door, when it gets a right-click or a redstone signal, is going to go up and down. But that's not really what I want. It's not a very elevator door-y sort of thing, right? They usually slide off to the side. And when we look at, say, down here in the basement, going all the way down, this door, if it slid up, would actually slide into the space for this door, which would be just kind of weird. So I wanted to fix that. Now, of course, I have fixed it. You can see as I go up and down the floors, these doors are opening and closing by sliding off to the side, even though they're factory doors. So what I did was I used the door factory, tossed my laboratory door in there, and then I just went and changed the settings. I want to slide on the side. I want it to open after 6. I don't want it to close again automatically. I want it to require redstone, like an iron door. So, for example, if I come over here and right-click this guy, he does not close. And if I go upstairs and just right-click this guy, he does not close either. Instead, I have to wait for him to come and get a redstone signal from the elevator caller. And then when the elevator caller loses its redstone signal, he closes and won't open again. So now I've got some decently safe elevator doors, courtesy of my door factory here. So having set everything up the way I want, I just hit modify door, and now I get back the same elevator door, but with different settings. So even the Malisis Doors mod, standard doors, let's see here, yeah, here we go. So here are all the standard doors that it gives you. It gives you different gates, it gives you saloon doors, and the giant big doors that I've got in my other house, a bunch of other specialized doors, jail doors, lots of different ones. You can customize all of the different ones to behave as you want them to behave. They don't have to behave with their standard mechanics. So any door, even a wooden door that you want to behave as though it's an iron door and require a redstone signal, you can do that. Well, I think that's it for the elevator. Starting here with my compressor, I get my air pressure. I regulate it using my pressure gauge. That drives the pressure into the elevator base. The call buttons are all set up. The doors are all set up. I can go to whatever level I like riding the elevator. That's going to use up a little bit of the pressure from the compressor. Once I arrive at the floor I want, the elevator stops. The elevator caller sends out a redstone signal opening the door, and out I go. If I want to call the elevator from a different floor, I just go press the button. That'll bring the elevator back down to the current floor and initiate a redstone signal at this one, allowing me to enter my elevator. And I think that's it. Everything's working. I'm going to, before the next video, go ahead and make the rest of the elevator bits that I need to fill in this last bit, and I'll be moving on to a different project. So, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you want to hear about it when the next one comes out, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you later.